All right, so we're back. The great secret of this podcast is about to be revealed. If you've been wondering for ages now why Tyler is the special guest despite being so close in the friend group, it is because Tyler is oftentimes hard to reach. Well, I don't think that's an understatement at all.
You were about to go, oh, that's kind of...
No, you know what? I think I'm right, and I think others would agree with me.
Tyler likes to observe the chat rather than participate in any conversation until he absolutely wants to.
I'm an absolute lurker.
We had a Slack group and a Discord group, and Tyler just shows up, and it's like, "Hey guys, let's do the first episode of the podcast today." And Tyler's like, "What are we talking about?" But the main reason is also we're like, okay, everyone pick something you kind of want to talk about today. And till right now, Tyler hasn't decided what he wants to talk about. And this until he can prove himself worthy by bringing something beforehand, he's going to be the special guest. So with that in mind, let's move into the next segment, which is Tyler's mailbag. Go ahead, Tyler.
I have the mailbag today because it got shipped to the wrong address.
Shut the fuck up.
So this letter comes.
Wait.
Short.
Hold on.
Okay.
I gotta do the intro bit.
Oh, okay.
He has a jingle.
Hi, kids. This is Tyler's mailbag. Today, my friend Postman Joseph is gonna read me a letter. What you got for me today, Joseph?
This letter comes from Cynthia Gluestein.
Does it? On episode 1? Okay.
Yeah, on episode 1. You just knew. Just sent the letter straight to my house.
Great.
All right. Dear Roundabout Podcast, I recently moved to a new state with my family, and I'm worried about meeting new people, and making new friends. I wasn't very popular at my previous school. People made fun of me for eating glue and rubbing glitter all over myself in the bathroom.
That's hot.
This really made my teacher mad on test days, since the glitter would fall off and onto the test paper, making it incredibly flamboyant. What are some tips and tricks to make some new friends in a new state?
Well, is it Samantha?
Cynthia.
Well, little Cynthia, I hear that eating glue can be sometimes bad for you. Instead, try to eat the cool sandwiches that they sell in the cafeteria. But make sure you always ninja run to the cafeteria to get there first to make sure you grab a sandwich.
Thanks,
Another
Tyler.
cool thing is stay away from drugs. Drugs are bad. Instead, get in with all the cool kids by selling them drugs. That way, you don't do them yourself, and then you make $1. That's what all the pharmaceutical companies do.
Big Pharma Tyler.
I would never do drugs.
Yeah.
Lastly, remember this, Cynthia. That teacher of yours probably didn't finish her 4-year degree somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
She's probably 22, and you'll be there someday too.
That rhymes, so you know it's true.
Oh God.
That rhymed too.
Don't
fuck.
worry about her right now. She'll get what's coming to her. Just don't worry about it.
Oh, well, that's all the time we have for Tyler's mailbag. Thank you, Tyler. Now, Tyler, I'm gonna force you to pick something else to also talk about. Why don't you tell us about your fucking running anime that you like?
Run with the wind, bullseye.
Yeah, let's talk about Run with the Wind.
So, I'm actually down to, I think only like 3 animes I'm watching right now. Like spring hit really well for me, and definitely the winter of probably let's see, it's 2019 right now. This is probably, when did One Punch Man come out? Is that 2016?
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I think.
No, it was like
The anime, at least.
was
the
it
anime.
4?
Ugh. I'm not doing math. It was a long time ago.
So this Run with the Wind is an anime about, it's a sports anime. So let's start off with sports animes often have really great character detail because it focuses on people and teamwork and building and everything. Some animes, sports animes, have really weird things in them. Like they do have anime gimmicks where it's oh, he can pass the ball really hard, or all of his pitches are 89 mile per hour curveballs, and it's impossible to hit. And it's they all they have these character gimmicks and everything. And Run with the Wind doesn't have any of that. It has like it involves around a main character who he's his freshman in college, and he spent all of his college like the anime starts off. He spent all of his college like loan money that he got from the government on gambling, and he lost it all, and he lost his place to live. He used to run in high school, and he got on like a bad stroke of luck, and one day he steals from a supermarket, and of course the guy who's working the supermarket, he's not going to catch this guy who's like sprinting at collegiate levels. So he's sprinting, running away with like some bread or something, and this guy starts riding with him next to him on a bicycle, and he's like, "Do you like to run?" And then that's how it all starts. So he joins up with this house, and this like rundown, really really rundown house, and there's 10 other people in it. And then the guy who was riding the bike is like, "All right, I've assembled 10 random people. Now we're all gonna go run a super relay marathon." And then nobody else in the house runs except for him and the guy on the bicycle and the guy who is stealing the bread, and everybody else is like, "What?" And so it becomes a story of convincing them to run, and like how they can like it and everything, and how it can promote character growth. It's really well animated, and it shows a lot to like college, like what college can be like for a lot of people, to where you have these students who have goals, and they're just going to class, not everyone, and it's like some of them are really like career focused and career oriented, like I have to get a job outside of college, like right as soon as college ends, like nothing else matters. And showing how doing something as simple as running can kind of like take away some of that stress and really like build friendships. And I took it really personally, I'm not gonna lie, because I used to run track back in high school, way back in the day. And I did long distance too. I sucked at long distance running. I could not do it. I just did it every year though, because I like to run, and I ran from like I ran pretty much all year round. I ran in the fall, which was long distance, and then the spring and the summer were track. But I ran with this group of kids that I like had nothing in common with. Everybody did different things, but when we were all running together, we looked like a group of people who hung out every single day and like night. Like we had known each other and we were all best friends. And it was really cool to see them like convey that magic of what it's like to be on a team and like an organized part or part of an organization where everybody has such dynamic interests and can like get along with each other. And it's like, even if they're not getting along, how they're getting along by not getting along. Like when you say F you to Willer, it's like, oh yeah, like fuck you, Willer. And then Willer's just like, fuck you too. But man, every episode like made me cry just because it was like, and it wasn't, I don't even know why, honestly. I think it just connected with me on that level. Man, it just told some good stories each episode. Each episode there was a problem for one of the 10 students to overcome, whether it had to do with like family matters, their education, girlfriends, jobs, like just the past coming up, and like whatever baggage this character had. And it's really short. I think it's only 24 episodes long, but really hot spring anime. I think it was like a book from like 1993 or something, like one of those short novellas from like the 20th century era, late 19th century, late 20th century, some crap like that. Yeah, late 19th century. But yeah, it was really good, and the story wraps up really well, really nicely. It doesn't drag anything on. There's no filler. The surprising thing about this anime, the real kicker, no hot spring arc. No hot spring. They go to the mountains at one point, but no hot spring.
Crazy.
And that was like a first time thing for me in anime, like, oh, where's the hot spring arc? Oh, there's no hot spring arc. Oh man, what's going on here? Truly groundbreaking right there. and I think that's just a testament to show where we've come in 2019 and what the new animes are trying to throw out there.
That's really cool. I think I really like your personal connection with it. That might be why you liked it so much. But I also watched an episode. Bradley was there too. I don't think Joe was there, and it seemed like really quality. So I'm actually interested in checking it out at some point.
The animation itself was like really good.
I very much like the setup of the 10 boys and trying to get them all to run. I feel like that's ripe for some character development and like, oh, everyone's gonna have their own reason to run and it's gonna reflect of their personalities and stuff.
There's a character, and I'd like to talk about this character because it's probably sadly the one that we relate to the most.
Rip.
There's a character called Prince, and they show him his room, and he's got from floor to ceiling manga just stacked and organized everywhere in the room. Bookshelves just on the floor. And he just reads manga all day and night. He is a small, frail person. He's just scrawny. And I know we eat well. We're not like that, but still, like, I know people like him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he can't run. He can't do anything physical. And the way that he gets him to start running is he threatens to kick him out. And like everybody's threatened kind of like to get kicked out of the house if they don't run. But especially for this character, he's one of the first ones to start is because he's gonna lose all of his manga and all of his like collection, you know? And he's just like, no. So he has to start running, and he's doing like absolutely awful. And then like once the main character starts to like enjoy the running and everything, he realizes like, oh hey, like this guy, he runs really like, you ever seen like you ever watch Friends where like Phoebe runs with her arms like flailing out to the side?
Yes.
He kind of runs like that, but then like he realizes, oh, he needs to put his arms in front of him, and then he's like reading one day, and then he's like, oh, try reading and running at the same time.
Whoa.
And so like he has to always like one guy runs in front of him and holds the manga up so he can read it. And then like he starts like keeping his head up and everything and like keeping his body straight so he can read his manga while he runs. And I was like, oh dude, you know what? That's some weird stuff that I can actually see happening, because when it comes to form and running, you do some crazy things to try and get it to be right. It's
That sounds like a very cute solution to that like little character problem.
yeah, he didn't gain any superpowers or go like easy like
No. Now that being said,
Or
Super
did
Saiyan
he?
3.
there is a place for superpowered sports anime, and you and I both know this.
And that's called Kuroko no Basuke.
There's a couple of others too. I do like my share of sports manga, so I'm down to check this out. Tyler, can we get a rating and who you would recommend this in the group? Who do you think would like this among us?
I'm gonna go with Joe actually.
Whoa.
I think Joe would like it for the character development and the bonding that each character has.
I don't doubt that at all because, well, number one, I also did football all 4 years of high school and 3 years of middle school. So I basically did football for 7 years. So I understand that concept of in camp. Camp was another big thing where it's like you have this concept of like brothers in arms. You're in the mud, you're in the ditches, and you're working every day with these people.
Yeah.
And like you may not go home with them afterwards. Yeah, you may not go home with them afterwards. You may not all have the same thing. But like when you've been in a situation with somebody and like you're like, remember that one time where our fucking camp coordinator called us out in the middle of the night and told us, I let all the chickens go. I need you to catch all the chickens before 2:00 in the morning.
What is this anime bullshit?
This is what happened to me at camp. Like it was just like, what?
I was in football and they didn't do that to us. They just punished us till we were sick.
This was summer camp.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's definitely on my watch list of something to watch. I just have kaiju to get through first for my exercise anime, and just it might bump up to my anime that I just actually watch, but it's definitely on my list.
We'll talk about kaiju in the future. I was hoping you'd say your football coordinators told you all to learn the Rasengan overnight, but you know, catching chickens is cool too.
That also happened.
Oh, that's dope.
Our football coordinators just made it like, okay, we didn't have turf football fields. We had like this really old dirt / almost grass football field. And they were just like, hey, do bear crawls until your hands are bleeding from stickers.
Oh man, we had the AstroTurf, and what they don't tell you about the AstroTurf is that there's these like little tiny like fake dirt molecules in the ground.
You mean the
that
turf? Yeah, that's what
the turf.
It's all of it.
And yeah. But they're actually like sharp. Like they're
Yes.
legitimately sharp.
And hot.
And they're just like, yeah, go do bear crawls, like as a punishment for being 2 minutes late to your practice because your shoe just happened to untie or someone threw your fucking cleat up on the locker or something. I don't know.
I just want to say that because of my weird body proportions, I was a god at bear crawls, and I was so good at them that one time the coaches made everyone else run extra, and I felt bad. they're like, De Silva over here is a defensive end, and he's doing bear crawls better than everyone. Everyone run more. And everyone just looked at me like I was a fucking devil. It's bad.
Oh, that's a good feeling though. Like you've low-key, like that's like the one uplift. That's like the best compliment you can get from a grade school coach.
Yeah.
Is when they punish other kids in your name.
Jesus.
Well, see, the reason it was good for me is because I was a tight end, so I worked out with the linemen, right? And I'm the only one who's like less than 250 pounds. So whenever we're running, I'd always be at the front, and coach would be like, "What the fuck? Why is Bradley so far ahead of everybody else?"
Of course he is, coach. You
We
better
had,
fucking be.
We had this interesting thing where we had, like at the end of like we had athletics 7th period, and then we'd had practice right after. So it's like not all the kids had practice, so they had to let us go inside at one point. Like class had to end at one point. And at the end of every class, we would run a lap around the track. And it was like, all right, just go run a lap, like everybody run a lap. But they would do it by football standards. So all the non-linemen would run first. And that includes like, it was really weird how they selected people too, because not everybody played football. So it's like, if you're under 200, you don't run first.
You're a wide receiver kind.
Yeah, it was really just like, if you did play football, that you're going to be in the back with those guys. And they would do times, and it's like, all right, if you don't run the lap in under a minute and 25 seconds, you got to run another one.
Jesus.
And then like all the time everybody would always have to run another one. But like I was like, I ran track since I was probably like 11, starting in like the Texas summer. So that's like 100+ degree weather. Like I ran track a lot. So like the other time I was in middle school, I was fast. And so like I would always be competing with one of the other kids for like first or second or whatever. And like sometimes they would be like, all right, hey, what's our time you want to get today? And I think everybody in this podcast knows that I have really extreme opinions and ideas.
Yeah, you do.
So that time would get cut from like 125 to 113 because I was just a devil child and I like to see everybody suffer a little bit.
Yeah, you do.
And that, like honestly, in retrospect, I'd probably still do the same thing because nobody ever watched them run the second lap. So a lot of people just kind of like walked it. But like I could like play it off as something like, oh yeah, I was trying to help people do physical therapy. Or I can't play it off as that. I was just a mean-spirited person who just liked to watch people run 2 laps around a track. Like, sue me,
Fucking devil child over here.
I was the mean kid. That was the most mean I could ever be in grade school, was just forcing people to run a second lap.
That's actually bad, man. I don't know. As a non long distance guy, I've always been a sprinter at best. Like you hurt me.
I'm sure I scarred a lot of people, and I'll apologize for that. I didn't mean to. I was young. I was running at the time. I was doing a lot of reckless things.
Now, Tyler, why don't you give us a final score on running with the wind? Or is it run with the wind? Run with the wind.
You know what? What are we doing? We doing our 5 scores?
Let's do the 5-point scale. Let's
do the 5 points. Dude,
Yeah.
honestly, solid 4 out of 5. It was above average, especially like the animation and the like just the audio really was a big one for me. Yeah, it was nice. There was a couple little side characters that didn't distract too much from the story. There was like kind of this constant buildup in the entire back of it. Like there was this other narrative going on with this other character the entire time that you didn't know if it was going to be problematic. And then during like the big event of the show, during one of the climax parts, something different entirely slaps you out of like left field, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe that happened. That I can absolutely see that happening.
I do remember you straight up like losing your shit for a little bit there. Like you were watching episodes, you would message us, and we're like, we don't know what Tyler's talking about, but he's going through it right now.
Oh my god, it was oof.
So there. You...
Imagine the worst thing that could happen on a running day, and that happened. It was tragic.
So
like,
there
rip
were
those kids.
There were landmines on the field. Yeah, that's a harsh one.
That happens, but not during the main climactic event. It happens during a different one.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Run with the Wind. Good anime.
More like Done with the Wind.